A lot of door me knock and them no open. But me give thanks to who close them. Cause I you make me try harder. Say I you make me try harder. Hey, greetings and welcome. This is Mona. Yesterday I was gonna come to you guys with this story, but the wildest thing happened. Okay. And then I'm gonna come back and read Coming of Age, because after yesterday I was pretty much, I was out. And let me know if you guys like Coming of Age in Mississippi. I noticed that sometimes when we're reading and we really don't know the context, or we really don't know the value of the information, just for information, I think sometimes we are more inclined to go towards things that we feel is valuable, like celebrity information and this and that. And we miss history like that, because there are some people in spaces that were not celebrated. That's what celebrity means, is that the person is celebrated, and it could be for something good or bad, right? And so we miss a lot of the moral of stories in the lives of people. There's so much you can learn from the lives of people who are not celebrated, given the fact that in this current society, you are celebrated for foolishness. And so people who really have, everyone has a story to tell, but people who have stories to tell, or maybe it's just me, that I find value in learning from other people's experience, regardless if it isn't on the front line. So maybe I'm just weird, I don't know, but let me know. I think for this, I'm going to read up to her childhood, and just so we have a few more chapters in her childhood, and then from there you let me know if you want me to continue to read to you, because I have read the narrative, I've read the book, so I'm just rereading it for the purposes of sharing. So if not, we're just going to get through childhood, and then we'll go on to something else. Yesterday, I was going to come with this story. You read the thing. It says, parents who spoil their children don't really love them. What kind of title is that, right? So I have an article for you, as well as a story. So let me do the story first. So here I was minding my business. I came across this article, and I was like, oh, wow, this is interesting. Right away, a biblical precept popped up into my mind, a proverb. If anybody doesn't know, that's some of my favorite wisdom sayings. And he who spares the rod spoils the child, right? And I have for you in different ways that this is translated, so that we could kind of build on that, and then I'll go to the story. So I was getting ready for the story, but then I happened upon some reggae music. Now, reggae music always makes me stop and, you know what I mean, bounce a little bit, you know what I mean? So then I played one song that I like a lot, which is by Coffee, Toast, right? And then I'm over here, I believe it's J Prince, and that song is Try Harder. So I was singing out the song, and you let me try harder. Next thing you know, this is right as I'm setting up everything to go live yesterday. I hear this big crescendo of glass. No, I didn't break the glass with my voice. Glass breaking. And I'm thinking, whoa, the babies, what's going on? They're nowhere near the glass, and the glass broke. The window glass just broke. So yesterday I was just done. So if you saw the video from yesterday, that video was uploaded. I said I didn't want to be lazy. I realized when I listened back to the other one that I was talking about, me having a lot of content on Facebook, which I do, and that would require me downloading it and re-uploading it. And then I was like, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, oh, that was kind of lazy. So I downloaded. I did one to see how much work I would have to actually put in to bring it from over there to over here. And so I did one to kind of test the waters, and that's the one you saw yesterday. So if you didn't see it, probably I'll just put a card up so you can see it and click on it after this. And it talks about negative, bad mind, and jealous people, and how we, not only that those people are like that, or we are the people that's like that, that have these characteristics. What are the conditions in our homes, in our growing, that fosters this type of condition? And then what can we do about it? Okay, so I'm not only about pointing the finger, we're about solutions over here. So nice. With that said, if you spoil your picnic, you don't love them. If you spoil your children, you don't love them. So according to the text, for those who subscribe, or even just like wisdom, because wisdom is wisdom. Some people be like, I don't read the Bible because it's the European man's book. Dude, wisdom is wisdom is wisdom. If it's wisdom towards life-giving principles, what I realized is that it's universal. If something is positive and it goes within the scheme of how the earth was created to run, then no one person, it's like no one person owns truth. And I'll come back and talk about this conscious community beef. I've spoken about it in times past, which I find weird that people try to copyright universal truths. I'm like, thou shalt not steal. You got that from us. Like, what? That's a universal truth. Like, what in the world? Anyway, I don't want to digress too much. So let me and I'm gonna try to come back and do this thing back to back. Read the next chapter. And like I said, I'm probably just going to go through childhood, and then we'll use Anne Moody's childhood as a reference point for going forward as we talk about certain things that can break down within the structure of the individual in childhood and how that root system begins to affect all other parts of our life. So if you're enjoying the book, then catch up and then let me know and we can continue. If not, then we'll stop after the childhood section. Okay, Proverbs 13 and 24 says, and this is different versions. One version, ESVUK. I've never even heard of that version before. Whoever spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him is diligent to discipline him. So it's talking about the parental figures whose responsibility it is to guide and discipline your child diligently so that they can be on the right path. EXB, if you do not punish your children, or if you withhold this rod or to spare the rod, you don't love them. You hate them, actually. But if you love your children, you will correct them. And I put these in the box so you can look it up and all that good stuff. TLB says, if you refuse to discipline your son, it proves you don't love him. And again, this is son or daughter, your children. For if you love him, you will be prompt to punish him. And if you do not punish your children, you don't love them. This is NCB. But if you love your children, you will correct them. So the title, Parents Who Spoil Their Children Don't Really Love Them, is speaking to, oh, I didn't know I disabled the chat. I'm sorry, y'all. Hold up. I'm going to mess around here. It's speaking to this thought process, even today. I'm not talking about jumping on and jumping all over your children and doing all kind of extra. But if you see your children going out of the way, if you see your children off, and you just laugh at it, like we see a lot of this information on social media, where you laugh at it or you dismiss it. I don't know why it doesn't allow live chat. It says live chat. I don't know why, or you dismiss it, or you do whatever it is that you do. And then and then you get upset when someone points out the fact that your child may be off the chain, right? Maybe let me just refresh this. You get upset, but listen to the terminology that we use. I like spoiling my child, or my child is spoiled. In any other space, when something is spoiled, it means that that thing is no good. But for some reason, hey, good morning. Good morning. For some reason, shout out to LF. LF, are you still? I'm thinking you're slap by your mama. Did you change your name? Let me know. Let me know if you changed your name. But for some reason, we think that something that is spoiled is good. It's not. It's spoiled. If your milk is spoiled, if your food is spoiled, if your products are spoiled, that means that they are of no use. They are no good. So let me look up the term for spoil here. And this is to parents who think that things and material possessions, or allowing your child, your little child, to get away with being rude, being disrespectful, having no manners, and think it's cute and laughable. Spoil, diminish, or destroy the value or quality of, harm the character of someone, especially a child, by being too lenient or indulgent. In the language of, I like to spoil my children, I like to give them what they want, I think they deserve it. Again, diminish or destroy the value or quality of, harm the character of someone, as harm. It's harm. That means, so when I say parents who spoil their children, that's too funny. I'm like, I know it's you. Oh my goodness, that was crazy. That's funny, but it's not. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, next up, slap back to your mama. You know what I mean? That wouldn't make good for an interview. That's a good look. I'm glad you changed that up. Um, to diminish or destroy the value of, harm the character of someone, especially a child, by being too lenient or indulgent. Overindulge, pamper, indulge, mollycoddle, which is a new word for me. I know coddle, but mollycoddle, baby or spoon feed. This is what we live in, a society today that thinks it's I had to look at mollycoddle because I'm just treat someone in an indulgent or overprotective way. Everything. You learn something new every day. An effeminate, oh, chill, an effeminate or ineffectual man boy. Baseball is a game for red-blooded men, and mollycoddles better stay out of it. That I didn't make that sentence up. I was just reading the sentence. Or his parents have mollycoddled him since he was a baby. Mollycoddle. There we go. There we go. Okay. So yeah, no mollycoddling. Okay. No spoiling of your children and thinking it's cute and letting them be grown and then grooming them to be this type of individual where we laugh at on social media. Where I come from or where I've grown, it's like, yo, that's not cute. Because when they grow up now, they're not going to have any manners. So to the story, soon to be ex-teacher, and I left the link in the box, goes off on parents who coddle or mollycoddle, you know what I mean, and enable their children or their kids. I don't like to say kids. It says kids. Kids is a baby goat. I don't know why we're calling them baby goats. Maybe why they're so stubborn, because you're calling them a kid. But anyway, maybe I'm going too deep. Soon to be ex-teacher goes off on parents who coddle and enable their kids. Internet widely applauds. So this story was written November of last year. It says, teachers may be educating the future of America, but they are often underpaid, underappreciated, and overworked. And we have seen this in countless articles and news stories coming out about what's going on with the public school education. Julie Marburger, they probably made fun of her name because her name is Marburger. I'm not going to, but I'm quite sure the children did. A sixth grade teacher at Cedar Creek Intermediate School in Texas went viral after she aired her frustrations with students, parents, and administrators on Facebook. So again, remember what I was telling you about a lot of people not having spaces to really voice their thoughts, and Facebook has become this politicized diary of sorts where people don't know where else to go, so they go on Facebook or Twitter. Not so much Instagram, but Facebook and Twitter. Instagram is more like pictures. So the post was later deleted, but apparently somebody caught the post. That's the other thing. People be catching you real quick. Don't think you're and good morning to everybody who just joined us. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the box. And we're talking about spoiled children and the parents, the parental figures not really loving them when they spoil them in the long run, right? So we think we're putting stuff up on social media. I tell people all the time, be careful, be careful, be careful. Be mindful. Think before you speak, because you think you might throw something up there real quick. I got to put this in there. Like the R. Kelly quickly put up the tour of Sri Lanka and Australia and pulled it down, and people caught it. It's the age of the, what do you call it? What do you call it thing? Screenshot. It's the age of the screenshot. So even when you think nobody get it, they get it quick. So anyway, the lady wrote, Miss Marburger, I left work early today after an incident with a parent left me unable emotionally to continue for the day. Breaking his teachers down, okay? I have already made the decision to leave teaching at the end of this year. And today, I don't know if I'll make it even that long. Parents have become far too disrespectful. So not only the children, the parents are far too disrespectful, and I've seen it. Sorry, and their children are even worse, okay? Chipping a far from the block. So the parents, so the children. Administration always seemed to err on the side of keeping the parent happy, which leaves me with no way to do the job I was hired to do, teach kids. You teach kids. You have to stop teach kids and teach children. Anyway, no teaching goats. I am including photos that I took in my classroom over the past 2 days. This is how my classroom regularly looks after my student spends all day there. Keep in mind that many of the items damaged or destroyed by my students are my personal possessions, or I personally purchased them myself. And that's another thing, under budget. So a lot of the students or the teachers have to go to Dollar General, Staples, wherever they're going to buy supplies for their classroom, which is They're already not making enough money to live off of. So, I mean, America, this shows you to show you where America's value system is at current time. I'm just saying. You know, if the rapper who can mumble rap and show that he flunked out of school can make a mill, but the child who's in school and the teacher who's there trying to teach the child can't even get supplies. Keep in mind, okay, she bought them herself because I have no classroom budget. I have finally had enough of the disregard for personal and school property, and I'm drawing the line in the sand of a myriad of behaviors that I am through tolerating. Unfortunately, one parent today thought it was wrong of me to hold her son accountable. So that's what happens when we don't discipline children. We don't hold them accountable, and so they think that they can tear stuff up and carry on any kind of way, and nothing is supposed to happen to them. I have to plug again. This is one of the common complaints that we're seeing amongst the conversation with R. Kelly, that he's not and no one is holding him accountable for his behavior, or he feels that you don't have to hold him accountable. And decided to very rudely tell me so in front of her son. So homegirl, the mother of whoever this is, son, or like they say in the street, she sunned the teacher in front of the child. Marburger included these photos of her classroom in disarray, including torn up textbooks, broken bookshelves, and a piece of chewed up gum stuck in the window. So these children don't have no behavior, and I'm going to show you the pictures right now. Hold on one second. Let me share my screen to show you the pictures. And I was like, psh, see, that's when all of the Caribbean would have came out in me for these bad behind acting. Oh, no, not the entire screen. Hold up. Let me see something. Okay, spoil. All right, let me see something. How y'all doing today? Huh? Okay, application window. Boom. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see. And this is the room that the teacher is hollering about. This is the bookshelf. So when the children, oh chill, they still got the old school, what do you call this thing here? The old school pencil sharpener thing. But look at the bookshelf. The books shown all over the place. This is nastiness. The bookshelf brought down, okay? And especially if you got OCD, like this will send you through the roof. You got books. This is how the children left the classroom. Books all over the floor. No value for chewing gum in. Nah, Reggie. When I first saw this, I was like, you know what? Chewing gum in the window. They broken down their little what do you call this here? You know, the little board and stuff. Just tore up. Board falling apart. This is a no-no. I mean, come on, we know this is a no-no. If you put a big book in another book, that means you're going to break the binding of the book, and eventually all of the pages will fall out in the book. That means anyone that comes behind you will not be able. They're going to have to put it together again to see where the pages are. So the school isn't buying new books, and they're breaking up the Webster dictionary here. Okay, Merriam-Webster. And she's taking an overall picture of her classroom. You got stuff on the floor, books jacked up. So this book missing. See, that's what happens. The book binding jacks up and the book tears apart. So people after you cannot use it. Okay, they use the electronics, left it. Okay, these children are just, you know what? This is nastiness. Okay, since you already got my screen, I'm gonna just share. Report cards came out later this week, and I have nearly half of my students failing due to multiple 8 to 10 missing assignments. Most of these students and their parents haven't seemed to care about their overdue past 3 months. Though weekly reports go out, emails have been sent, and phone calls have been attempted. But now I'm probably going to spend my entire week next week fielding calls and emails from irate parents wanting to know why I failed their kid. My administrator will demand an explanation of why I let so many fail without giving them support. Even though I've done practically everything short of doing the work for them, and behavior in my class will deteriorate even more. I'm expecting this because it is what has happened at the end of every other term thus far. Marburger explained that it was her dream to be a teacher, but but in just 2 short years, the job had beaten her down. 2 years, jeez, and they're running teachers out the field. I believe one teacher went famous. I think his name is. He went on a whole tour. What his name is? Eddie. I believe his name. He's a comedian, and some of the stuff is funny but sad. He's a comedian, and he started doing comedy about the woes of teaching on social media, and he blew up because so many teachers could identify with him, and he went on a whole teachers tour and everything. So this is a real problem. This is a real problem. So then if there's nobody to teach the children, then what? Where does that leave society? Because they're the next leaders, quote unquote. They're the next workforce. She says that Marburger explained the job has beaten her down so much that she's ready to call it quits. In the end, Marburger offered a little advice to parents. Here we go. This is a teacher of 2 years who always wanted to be a teacher. This is what she says. People absolutely have to stop coddling or mollycoddling and enabling their children. It's a problem that's going to spread through our society like wildfire. It's not fair to society, and more importantly, it's not fair to the children to teach them that this is okay. It will not serve them towards a successful and happy life. Many will say I shouldn't be posting such things on social media, that I should promote education and be positive, but I don't care anymore. This is the every day you carry the bucket to the water, to the well, and one day the bottom fell out. Well, the bottom fell out. This is the straw that broke the camel's back for her. Any passion for this work I once had has been wrung completely out of me. Maybe I can be the voice of reason. This has to stop. Before it was deleted, Marburg's post was shared over. This is how much people identify with this. This is 250,000 shares, 350,000 times, and garnered tons of support from fellow educators who sympathize with her position. This is not just, somebody who's complaining. If this is shared, that means that it's resonating with people. This is exactly why my wife walked away from finishing her teaching degree. So she ain't even finished. She's like, I ain't even going into no more debt. Y'all hold that. Y'all hold y'all kids. I'm not messing with y'all. Y'all have my respect if you take a stand and tell your administration that you ain't coming back tomorrow or ever again. Someone has to draw the line and start making the statement that spineless administrators are going to have to stop kissing entitled parents. Bloop, wrote one parent. I'm with you, girl. You read my mind. I was in the exact same shoes yesterday. I left in tears too, and most kids saw me. Many of them were sympathetic, but some cheered and said they were happy I was leaving as I walked by crying. I, like you, spent about 20 hours outside of my contract time a week doing everything I can be the best teacher, I guess, so I can be the best teacher possible, and spend hundreds of dollars out of my own pocket every year to have the supplies I need to give these kids the best educational experience possible. Posted another. I thought I could make it another 7 weeks, the post continued, but after yesterday, I'm not sure. I'm taking today and tomorrow off to figure out my options. I'll keep you in my prayers. Please do the same for me. Okay? Soon to be ex-teacher goes off on parents who coddle and enable their children. She's pleading with, hold on, let me release the screen here. She's pleading with the parents of these children to stop it. She's pleading with them that you're not doing them a favor by giving them everything they want, by shortening their attention span, by giving them nothing but TV, by giving them nothing but video games, by giving them nothing but the latest abomination music that you have them listening to. By giving into their demands, you are not helping them. In the long run, you hate your children and you hate society. Okay? Why? Because they're, like she said, and I have to agree, they're going to be unleashed in society. There was one point where people used to say, if somebody it was bad, they would say, who is your mother? Who? Hey, Deep Mind Unraveled, welcome to the discussion. There used to be a time that when people had children who were good or bad, the question is, who raised you? Who raised you? And I can go on and on about all of my theories or hypotheses. I prefer hypothesis because I don't just have theories, you know what I'm saying? I support my stuff with some evidence. If you didn't get a chance to check out Unraveling R. Kelly, I'm just giving y'all some time to breathe because I got more. So when I go into researching, I kind of support a lot of what I'm saying with factual evidence, not just some old, made up stuff. I've seen some stuff on YouTube, I'm just saying. But if we contrast this with some 40, 50 years ago, like what we're reading in this book, and looking at the mentality of the children who were going to school, who had the opportunity where she had to walk miles to school, and then later on the school was like a mile away, and they still did that in the cold and the sleet. And we've heard our parents say these stories and roll our eyes when stuff became too accessible. She's complaining of only having 2 school dresses for the entire year, and her mother not having enough to send her to school because her father left, and they still saw education as a way out. And today, because a lot of parents are having children, I'm going to support some stuff, but I'm just going to say something real quick. A lot of parents are having children, not because they want to have the children, but because the children are a result of a good time. The children are a result of horniness. The children are a result of, you know what I'm saying, a Netflix and chill, okay? And a lot of these relationships are not built on let's make a family, you know what I'm saying? It's more going half on a baby. They're going half on a baby, okay? Hold on one second, y'all. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Y'all know the phone like ringing up in here. All right, I'm back, y'all. Yeah, so because a lot of people are you guys seeing or hearing me? Because I see that my thing is loading. Let me check on this. Because a lot of people are going half on a baby, okay, and the child is a burden for some, and there's an indifference there, or there's pressures from just keeping the child alive or feeding the child or making sure the child is good. The parent really doesn't have time. It needs to be done at home, and so they pacify the children. Oh, let me make sure I can be heard here. Oh, you hear me? All right, cool, back. So they pacify the children with these things that cause a problem for the educator. Okay, when you have educators quitting left and right, when you have people saying, I don't want to do this anymore, I've seen and met, going and coming, people just walk up to me and be like, yo, your children, because I homeschool the children. I use aides to homeschool, but they're still homeschool. And they say, I noticed, do you homeschool your children? Just like, I'm like, why? Because they're very well behaved. You know what I'm saying? I can tell. This is what they say to me. I get this almost, if I took a camera outside with me and y'all followed me, y'all be like, yo, is she a local celeb? Because people will just want to walk up to you. They just want to talk to you. They just want to engage you just because they see something different about you. You know what I'm saying? Just the way that you carry yourself. You don't have to go evangelize anything, but you see a difference in children whose parents are taking the time to make sure that the emotional and physical needs of the child is met. We know that if the emotional and physical needs of the child is not met, then the child will not be in the right space to actually be learning. And so these parents, and then if you just joined us, we read the definition of spoil. Anything spoiled is not good. If your meat is spoiled, if you spoiled your clothes, if you spoiled your makeup, if you spoiled your food, it's not a good thing. So why are we taking this term spoil to be a good thing? It's like taking bad to be good and evil to be, I'm like, stop. Those are not good terms. We're speaking these things into existence because word, sound, power, okay? That's how it goes. Word, sound, power. So when we're projecting these things over to our children and giving them everything they say they want, then we are setting them up, like the teacher said, for failure. And this is not just a personal issue because these issues seep into society. That child is either going to be your employee, that child is going to be your neighbor, that child is going to be your boss, that child is going to work out at the local supermarket as an adult who has not learned to govern themselves, who has not learned to take instruction. And a lot of parents get up in their feelings and up in arm when you tap on the shoulder and be like, yo, tighten up. What are you doing? And I've said this before and said it in other places. Like, I am the type of person who will speak to a child even when their parent is standing there. Because it takes a village. I'm not going to be disrespectful. I'm not going to like do all of that. But I will step to a child even when their parent is standing there. Like, you better tighten up. Like, I've been in Walmart seeing, and the babies are like, mommy, like something about rudeness, period. Just like it. And I've been in Walmart seeing a little child, and it was his grandmother because she was old, okay, older. And I've been in Walmart seeing a child cut up on the grandmother, okay, and I'm over there. It was a little European child, and boom, hitting his grandmother, and I'm standing behind him, and I'm eye locked with the child. I'm looking at them, right? Because you can't be scared of children. They're going to test their boundaries. They're going to see how far they can go with the foolishness. And I'm eye locked with this little boy, like, and he looking at me. He looking at me like, ooh. I'm looking at him like, you know what I mean? You put a cut it. You know what I mean? And grandmother is there, can't manage him. You can't manage him because you let him, whether you don't have the personal strength or whatever, to because children are persistent as I don't know what. They will wear you down. So you have to have some level of resolve with these children to say, listen, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to give you what it is that you need. Sometimes I have to check myself. I'm here and there. If I hear a little voice saying, mommy, can you help? I make myself stop to turn around to see what it is that they need. Because this thing about learned helplessness, where I shared a video on the channel, it wasn't my video, it was somebody else's video, but it's a real thing. So if you teach the child, if you train the child, if you condition the child, because that's what we're doing. We're reading Coming of Age in Mississippi. Please go back and listen to the videos, and then I'm gonna pick up, because in the book, she's detailing from the mind of a child how errant thought and doctrine and belief systems get embedded in you when you don't have someone to talk to, when you're not getting the right information, when you are being shut down, when you're asking, like for instance, she was asking her mother, she went over to her mother's family's house and she saw two what she called white boys. And she was asking her mother, like, yo, I didn't know, like, how they are family, but they're Europeans. And the mother is so indifferent to this question that she's like calling the daughter stupid. Like, what do you think? Their father is white. If she knew, would she have asked? And then the mother like shoos her and tells her, like, don't talk to her and don't talk about it again because blah, blah, blah. And so sometimes in past, when there were things that were happening that even the adult felt shame around or guilt around or upset about, then that adult will cow tongue the child so that the child wouldn't speak out about this type of stuff. And then other adults will allow the child to do whatever, be whatever, say whatever. In my study, because I want to tie everything in, because everything is tied in my study, and I didn't bring this part out, I'll just give y'all a little, what they say, a little sneak peek. When I'm reading and studying all of this stuff in the context of what is going on in this huge R. Kelly case, I'm really interested in the childhood so that I can understand the adulthood, okay? So childhood is where I am. And when I'm listening to the childhood of Aaliyah, which would be the first notable victim of his behavioral patterns, when I said, well, let me take a minute off of him to look at what was going on with her. And when I look at the parents, and again, I'm going to bring more of the information. When I look at the willingness of the parents to, as they say, give her, to support her dreams and her visions, at 6 years old, at 6 years old and 7 years old and 8 years old, the parents are grooming her or more so the mother, according to the narrative and the records, are grooming her to become this star? Is that what we are supposed to be grooming the young children for? I mean, there's so much record of young children, Hollywood young children, when they become stars, which is another story, at such a young age, that's like bearing fruit on a sapling. That sapling does not have the nourishment. It does not have the fortitude to be able to bear that fruit. It has not gone through the maturation process for us to partake of that fruit. So I personally, this is me personally, looking at this, saying, yes, we see young children with talent and ability, but that is not for us to exploit. That is for us to protect, and that is for us to nurture, so that when it does get to the stage where it can withstand all that is coming, it won't destroy that person or that soul. So for looking from where I'm coming from and observing the matter from where I'm coming from, she was allowed at too young of an age to step into a space, and the parents were too permissive at that space. You're 14-year-old and you're being permitted to go into the company of a grown man because you said from the time you were 6 you wanted to go on the stage. And I know a lot of people are not going to like to hear this, but if we're not honest about what we're looking about and what we're seeing, if she's on record as saying at 10 years old, her mother is taking 10 years old, 10, that her mother is taking pictures of her and saying that she has sex appeal at 10? Why are you reinforcing and sexualizing a 10-year-old? And that 10-year-old internalized it. Again, for those who just join us, I'm speaking about parents who spoil their children, don't really love them. I'm speaking about, again, all the studies, because right now they just all kind of do this, they converge in my mind. But again, I was looking at this and just didn't bring it out as yet, that I found that troubling. Where the father is on record, he seemed more permissive and just, I want to be a support system. And the mother seems to be the one who was more, I'm going to help you forward this because I was a singer, I wanted to be a singer, and you have that, and I'm going to help to push you forward. And so the young girl is saying that the mother was telling her that she was sexy. So when and everybody kept saying of her, you're so advanced in your age, you're so mature for your age. You're a child. You're a child. Like, there's more on that later. So definitely when that portion comes out, feel free to let me know your thoughts. Because again, like I said, when I'm studying, I just pull it all out, and just, go through it all and then just see these patterns of behavior. And that was one that I saw that the parents were willing to do in spite of the fact that you would have to compromise the child to do so. So in this case, in the coming of age, the mother necessarily didn't treat her as she was grown, but they did leave them to their own devices because of financial burdens. So they were being left at the house by themselves at 4 years old in the care of an 8-year-old. This is the same thing that happened in R. Kelly's case, where he was left in the care of a teenager because his mother had to go to work and they didn't have anybody else to watch the children. This is something that is pervasive throughout our community and even throughout America, this thought of latchkey children. It's not a new thought. This is thought that's entrenched in slavery. When you had to go to the field and nobody to watch the children, you would use younger children who were not necessarily fit for the field to watch the children, or older people who were too sick to go to the field. So in this book, we see a lot of children being left in the care of other children who are resentful and indifferent about being burdened for the care of children when they themselves are a child, right? And I explore more of that when I talk about why we because of the economic constraints, because of the economic system that we find ourselves in, the economic oppression that we find ourselves in, these are hard decisions that parents have to make. And a lot of times it sacrifices the emotional well-being of the child. So back to parents who spoil their children. I guess I didn't really leave. I just gave you some character references. Parents who spoil their children don't really love them. We have to think about this. Yes, it's easier to give them what they want. Yes, it's easier to make them be quiet and stop yelling and stop screaming and stop crying. And I'm going to tell you guys something. I'm so, everybody's not going to be so like, I'm just a different type of, I've always been just very like, you know what I mean? I'm so gully about not pacifying my children that I never, me, bought or put a pacifier, artificial pacifier in their mouth. The only time when my twins were preemie, so they were in the NICU, and when I got to the NICU and saw that they automatically just took a pacifier and put it in their mouth, and that nurse, I was like, you know what I mean? Get this out of here. Do not pacify children. And the pacification, is that a word? Oh, hold on, let me look that up. Y'all know I like looking up on the fly. I be saying some stuff, and I want to make sure that, although I do make up words from time to time, I want to make that pacification is an actual word. Hold on. Pacification. Hold on. I'm going to tell y'all right now. Passivation? No. Pacification. Hold on. Pacification, y'all. Yep. To pacificate. There we go. Wait. Hold on. See, it sounds like a funny word, but it is a word. Pacification, the act of or process of pacifying, the state of being pacified, the act of forcibly suppressing or eliminating a population considered to be hostile. A treaty of peace. Pacification. There we go. Pacification is a word. We're back on track. So I was averse, to the pacification. I love you laughing. I was averse to the pacification of the children. So I wouldn't like to see, even if I go around my family and there's young babies and I see the mother putting a pacifier in the mouth, like that joint give me the tremors. I'm like, here's what I've learned. And I have gotten, the Most High blessed, 4 children, including twins. So I'm not just talking out my left ear. 4 children. And of those 4, I have twins, one set of twins. Okay. And what I have learned, and I haven't had like this abundance village of help. So for anybody to want to just shove something in somebody's mouth so they can be quiet, it would be me. Okay. But what I've learned is that pacifying the child, they call it a soother. But here's the thing. The child is crying because of something. Okay. And because we as a people, sometimes we feel indifferent or resentful or we're overburdened or we're stressed or whatever the case may is, we want to pacify this child so they can be quiet and stop agitating us because we don't have the patience to find out what the problem is. They're going to cry because they're hungry, because they can't talk. So this is their level of communication, okay? They realize, oh, this is how I get to tell them something is wrong. They're hungry, they're wet, they're tired, they have gas, they're constipated, or they just want to be connected to you, or something is hurting. These are the base reasons why a child is crying. If you meet their needs and there's nothing physically wrong with the child and emotionally you have met their needs, I am telling you, unless that child is a spawn from Hades, you know what I'm saying? Like you just incarnated something off. Unless that's the case, that's like the exception. But for the most part, if you do these things, that child is good. That child is good. The child picks up on your energy. So if your energy is off, then the child may be agitated. And because they don't know no other way to express this agitation, they cry. So I have found that when you meet the needs of the child, then you don't need to pacify them. What's the word for pacification? Let's go back to pacification. The act of pacifying. So let's go back to pacifying. What is pacifying? To allay the anger or agitation, to pacify a crying child. So you can pacify them in other ways. Give them your attention. Let them know you're here. Talk to them in soothing ways. Play them relaxing music. Play them nature sounds. Take them for a walk. Not just shove something in their mouth so that they can be quiet, but the cause of the issue is still there, right? So these are some, again, practical solutions for parents who spoil their children. And not just to say, like, everything is shaming these days. Your parent shaming, your food shaming, you know, can we stop? Now we're becoming hypersensitive to every form of correction. The other day, I don't even want to go into it, y'all. Let me just stay on track. I see why the parents are spoiled, the children are spoiled, because some of these parents, I'm like, so someone can't give you a positive word of correction without you going into you're shaming me, you're victim shame. Come on, people. How are we going to improve if we can't even have the conversation? So this is not parent shaming, okay? I'm not saying going around if the child is older and the child is bigger. Like sometimes you will see they're agitated, and even though they have words, they still don't have the words to express what's going on. And if you see it, you take a moment out of your very busy day to sit down with them, hopefully when they're smaller, because it gets difficult when they grow up. The older they're getting, the more calcified the thought is, the indifference is, the resentment is, the more it begins to, it's like a little dot. It's like, you know how a pearl grows? They say it's a grain of sand, and then it begins to get layers and layers and layers and layers until we're like, ooh, this is a pearl. But you have to see the process of what it takes to actually make that pearl. But it's the calcification of certain minerals that come together and begin to shine. Okay, and we say it's beautiful. The child, whatever that emotion is, whatever that energy is, okay, that they first couldn't explain or they really didn't understand. Like I said, this book, if you go back and listen to, we're up to chapter 5, okay? But if you go back and listen to the beginnings and you continue to read the book, you will see what it has informed her thought processes. And I'm gonna wrap it up here. So back to the child, for the parent who's like, oh, she just said I'm spoiling my child and I don't hate them, I love them. When you're gonna have to start correcting them. You're gonna have to start putting your foot down. You're gonna have to start telling little Johnny and little Susie no. You're gonna have to let them have an attitude, because that's what they do. Read control dramas or look at the other video I talked about a little bit about control dramas, or just get the book Solonomics. And I talk more about control dramas. You can Google control dramas. They're going to try to manipulate you. You have to not give in. You have to hear their concern, validate their existence, see whether or not what they're saying is valid, because you may be the problem. I'm just saying. The child may be reacting to the fact that you're the problem, because they're the child and they don't really have any agency. You suppress them. So, but providing you're not this person, providing you are a good-hearted person, providing that you're just misinformed. One, in recapping, spoiling a child is not good. It will make for a spoiled adult. It will make for a narcissistic adult. It will make for a manipulative adult. It will make for a resentful, indifferent adult. It will make for a terror to society, and that person will grow up to be somebody's mate, in which now that person has to deal with the job that you didn't do, or I. So I'm very cognizant of people not doing their jobs and you inheriting their foolishness. And so I personally don't take kindly to people not realizing that the child that you're rearing is going to enter society and either be a blessing or a curse to that society. So with that said, this is not parent shaming, so please don't go there. This is about accountability, acknowledging where we are, and taking the steps to do better parenting. Some people are like, you should do a parenting class. And I'm like, because these young children are off the meat rack. The parents are, and then the parents are filling the carts with all of these sugars and all of these chemicals and all of these Pop-Tarts and all of these artificial things. And you're wondering why the child is off the meat rack. You're wondering why the 4-year-old is obese. What are you feeding the 4-year-old? Chicken nuggets that's laden with arsenic and come on. Parents, we have to, I mean, just because it's for ease of convenience doesn't mean if we're doing these things to our children, that's not love. That's not love. It's hard to hear, but then the parent may not know because they themselves don't know what it is to love themselves. And this is what we begin to work on when we identify the problem. Now we take steps to changing it so that we can get a better solution. So with that said, what time is it here? 11:46, y'all. Let me know what you think about the book thus far. For those who are listening, have you read the book? Do you have the book? Have you ever heard of the book? Are you following along? Didn't you see her daddy left her? Her daddy left her. The mama ain't want nothing to do with it. She got a new boo, and the new boo's family hates the mama. Okay, and they had took the son for like 4 years, and now the son is back, and they got a house living close to the mama. But the mama, she just gave birth to the child, the new baby, and the mama didn't even ask her how she was doing. So this is this toxic parenthood where you think your child is everything. And here's another thing I'll leave on this, because this is what also came up in the book. This is this toxic humanity where now only your child is worth something and everyone else's child has no value. So in this case, the mother didn't consider the woman as someone, and she's going to give her love and affection towards the child and discard the mother, which is all the things that people do that make the world not so nice of a place. So with that said, thank everybody for tuning in. Feel free to share this. Feel free to comment. I'll come back in a little bit. I got some stuff to do to speak more about this. Again, click the link in the box, share the link, and then what are we going to do? What are we going to do? So with that said, I'll talk to you guys later.